Believe it or not, there actually is a wrong way to market your e-commerce business. And I want to go through exactly what that looks like for you so that you can understand exactly what is the right and what is the wrong way to market your e-commerce business. So this is off the back of myself mentoring and coaching over 200 e-commerce brands over the last few years to hit record revenue months, whether it's their first 10K, 30K, 50K, 100K a month, etc. And that came off the back of myself co-founding an e-commerce business in 2013. My brother and I left our corporate jobs in banking and finance and property valuations, and we bootstrapped our business from the kitchen bench, cold press juice cleansing company that now turns over multiple 7 figures per year. So we've seen a lot in the last 12, 13 years. So I just wanted to go through this because it's something that within my paid community, the Ecom Blueprint program and Uplevel Mastermind that we help e-commerce brands grow and scale, has been coming up. And it's about, let's call it good traffic versus bad traffic. Because let's be honest, we have access to traffic everywhere, more than enough website traffic and visitors that we should be winning as e-com brands, as business owners, right? Let's just kind of call that and lay the foundations there. We have access to them in organic capacity and also paid capacity. However, there is a difference between traffic and visitor intent. So high intent, meaning those that are likely to convert or buy from you, and those with low intent, those that are not likely or willing to buy from you. And whilst we're always dealing with, human beings here, it's really important to understand that there certainly is a very clear delineation between those two categories of website visitors. And so when we initially start our businesses and say we're just using organic means, it might be, literally word of mouth, or it might be organically building up your profiles to drive people to your site. Those people are typically going to be of high intent because they know, like, and trust you. They've been driven, as I say, in organic capacity. They might actually know you, right? So we would have lower website visitors, but the conversion rate would be relatively solid, right? And we talk about a KPI of around 3% for e-commerce is within KPI. Some are more, that's amazing. Some less. If it's at a dangerous level and you're not profitable, then obviously you need to increase that. But 2 to 3% is where we want to actually be as call it a baseline. So that's a decent rate if you've got kind of warm, engaged traffic or low traffic numbers. The challenge really occurs when we're looking to increase traffic. So a lot of people say, I just need to get more people to my site, and that's that, right? And this is where, people get caught out with agencies as well, because there's one thing to talk about serving impressions and reaching people and even getting clicks and website visitors, but it's another thing to actually have those numbers converting into customers. And if you've been here, if you know what I'm talking about, then literally you'll know what I'm talking about when agencies talk about, look how many impressions or reach we've served. So this can occur when we're going after, call it cheap CPMs, cost per impressions, cheap ways to advertise, cheap cost per clicks, right? High CTRs, meaning click-through rates. Okay, so the job of the front end is to actually sell that click. Now, the power of, say, Meta in this circumstance is that we can physically go after people that are really likely to actually click and go to our site. Again, we don't think about this because human beings, like, who's window shoppers, who's doing this, who's doing that. But this is what we find, and this is based off literally tens of thousands, even hundreds of thousands of dollars of testing ads, is that we can drive as much of that traffic as possible. They're not going to convert. Okay, so then we have two problems. And one might be that it's identified actually wrong. So if we get a lot of traffic through, they've got that low intent, they're in that low intent category, then they're not going to actually convert. So what does that do to our website? It increases our traffic volumes, good thing, from the surface level, but then it actually decreases our conversion rate, bad thing. Now, if that was the case, if we didn't know that there was intent, or let's call it bad traffic, we would go to that site, or an agency would go to your site and say, your website's not converting. We need to do something about your website, okay? Now, this is a dangerous position to be in because you're looking at the wrong thing, or you're understanding the wrong thing about the volume of traffic that's come through and the impact that's had, the cause and the effect. And it was stemmed from the actual traffic source. Now, this can occur on Meta, but we also see it quite a lot when people start running TikTok ads or Pinterest ads. Yes, we get cheap cost per impressions, meaning cost to advertise. Yes, we get cheap cost per clicks and high click-through rates. Good thing, like on the surface, drives traffic, increased traffic volume, conversion rate falls through the floor. We see that quite a lot because as I say, we can pay to acquire or we can get more traffic, but it's the intent of that traffic and people looking to buy. Now, again, an agency or you might assume that I need to fix my conversion rate. Something's wrong with my conversions, when it's not. It's just the intent of that traffic. Because if you remove that source, if you cut off those TikTok ads, if you cut off those Pinterest ads, your conversion rate should go back to where it was, at 2 to 3% if it's within KPI, whatever your baseline actually was. Okay, so it was just physically that intent of the traffic. So in that case, again, you need to identify if it's the actual conversion rate or if it's your traffic source. This is why we do things methodically, scientifically, and really only do one little variable at once so we can track it. So for example, if you said, I need to fix my website and then I need to start TikTok ads, and you do it at the same time, and you have poor results, or good results, but poor results more likely, it's really hard to pinpoint what it actually is. You'd probably, again, hypothesize that it's actually your website and the conversion rate that is doing the damage, when it could be your intent or the traffic of the intent coming through. So you just really need to really understand what is good traffic and bad traffic, okay? And when it comes to the expense of that traffic, we need to be prepared to pay more for a higher intent traffic more likely to convert, rather than listening to an agency or even our inexperience, let's call it, to say, let's just get really cheap advertising, do a reach, impressions, traffic campaign on Meta to get traffic to our site, and that should theoretically convert, or we can retarget those people and they'll eventually buy. That's some advice that Meta actually says. Run a traffic campaign, retarget them with a sales campaign that's going to convert for purchases, and that will do the trick. But it doesn't, because why would retargeting an audience that's never going to buy actually turn them into buyers, if that makes sense? Okay, so you've got to get the right in traffic there first, then they either buy or they don't, and then retarget that high intent traffic over and over and over. Okay, yes, it's going to cost us more. Yes, we're going to have less traffic, but we will get purchases. That's the difference. I would rather have less audience, less traffic coming through, and have a higher number of conversions, not just conversion rate, than have masses amount of traffic coming through and being like, what's wrong with my product? What's wrong with my brand? But really, it's actually the intent of that traffic coming through. Right? So that's some things to look for. If you're in that position where you're like, I just want to increase the traffic, and that should do the trick because it's all about ratios and percentages and follow through, and then it has poor results on your conversion rate, it wasn't your site, it wasn't anything to do with that side of things. It's actually the traffic and the intent of that traffic coming through. So look at the objective if you're running meta ads, look at the source if you're running from other sources as well, and also understand what your agency is telling you or contract is telling you when it comes to impressions and reach and getting cheap clicks and higher click-through rates. Okay, just see the forest for the trees there. It's not about the vanity metrics. I would rather have a $3 cost per click than a 50-cent cost per click if I know that that audience member or that traffic source is going to be of higher intent and hopefully convert or have the opportunity to convert. All right. So I hope this is making sense. If it's kind of like if you know, if you've been running ads and you've tried these things before, if you've heard these things from your agency or contractor, now you've got a bit more knowledge and experience, borrowing my experience and what I'm seeing, brands obviously in our community as well, doing and seeing, and how you can actually get a way better performance. Right. So focus on high intent traffic, willing to pay a little bit more if it's necessary, but understanding the relationship between poor quality traffic and call it our conversion rates. Really, really important that there is a difference between good traffic and bad traffic. All right. So I hope this clarifies things for you. Thanks for watching up until this point. If you like this video, just give me a like. I'd love a subscribe. I'm creating videos like this all the time just based on my experience and the ecom brands that I'm actually coaching and mentoring. I'm just giving information freely like this. So hopefully you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching till the end. I hope it was again valuable, and I'll catch you in the next video. See ya.